Good evening, board members. If you could please register your attendance at this time. Thank you. Board members, before we begin our business, I just want to make an announcement. This evening, we have 2 locations set up for you depending on how you want to do business. And I just want to give you advance notice because when you make your selection of board chair and vice chair, that individual will need to lead you in making the decision whether to remain in this room and have your work session here or to move upstairs. Your decision may or may not be impacted by this, but I want to let you know this is currently being live streamed upstairs because there are individuals upstairs as well. So if you stay here, there's extra room upstairs. If you decide to move upstairs, then the meeting upstairs would be live streamed in our conference room here. So there's additional seating, additional capacity for citizens that may want to observe your meeting. At this time, I'd like for us to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm glad to know that the Aflac duck is in the audience. Just as a reminder how this process works, I will begin by opening the floor for nominations for board chair. The floor will be open until I've received any nominations, and then I will close. You will vote on that, and then we will repeat the process. The process will be completed once you have selected the board chair. They'll take this seat, and then I'll move over into my proper place, and the board chair will follow the same process for the election of the vice chair. Are there any questions about that? At this time, I'd like to open the floor for nominations of board chair. Please press your button if you'd like to make a nomination. Mr. Wimberly?
Dr. Looney, I'd like to nominate Gary Anderson. As in our previous meeting, I said that I was real impressed with Gary's experience. He's been on the board for 26 years. Pardon me. He has shown great leadership. Throughout that time, he's been our chair, he's been our vice chair. He made a beautiful speech when he was nominated last time. Maybe he could do it again. And I honestly think that Gary doesn't have a divisive bone in his body. And I think he would make a superb chairman for this particular time.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly. Dr. Burgos?
I would like to nominate P.J. Mesra. I don't think he has a divisive bone in his body either. And he's a man of character, and I think he would do an excellent job.
Thank you, Dr. Burgos. Are there any other nominations? There being none, I close the floor for nominations. We will vote on Mr. Anderson to begin with. Please remember it takes 7 yes votes in order for you to select the chairperson. Do you need to load that, Brian? You're good? All right. Please vote yes if you would like for Mr. Anderson to serve as the board chair. Vote no if you don't. And press confirm.
Your vote is 5 yes, 6 no, 1 abstain.
Dr. Looney, Dr. Looney, can I say something? I don't think we had a second for these nominations.
I can answer that. Robert's Rules of Order does not require a second
Okay.
for chair nominations.
Okay, thank you.
The motion to select Mr. Anderson as the school board chair has failed. At this time, please load the panel. Vote yes if you want Mr. Mesra. I'm sorry, PJ. Vote yes if you want to select PJ. Vote no if you don't. Please confirm your vote.
Your vote is 9 yes, 3 no.
Congratulations, PJ. If you'll just give us a few moments, we're going to do some shuffling. And PJ, congratulations if you'll come take your seat.
No more. It's yellow. Your stays yellow.
Okay. Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to say something to Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson, you are one of the most esteemed board members, and your experience is invaluable. And it is my hope that that I may call upon you as a mentor and advisor if you will avail yourself. Thank you. We will now proceed to the next order of business, the election of the vice chair. Are there any nominations from the floor? Wait. Hold on a second. There you go. Mr. Wimberly.
I'd like to nominate Ken Peterson.
Ms. Curley.
I would like to nominate Candy Emerson.
Are there any other nominations? We will close the nominations, and we will begin with a vote.
I want to make sure the board's aware of one thing.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Click on
Yeah. Mr. Golden, will you please address the board with matter of clarification regarding?
Just want to make sure the board is aware, the board handbook states that the board chair and the vice chair must have served on the board for 12 months. It's not Tennessee law, it's not policy, it's a handbook that the board voted on in the past. Just wanted to make sure the board is aware that if you vote that way for a member who has not been on the board for 12 months, my recommendation would be that you go back and review your handbook and make an alteration to reflect that change. Just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. We will now proceed to the voting of Kenneth Peterson as board vice chairman.
The vote is 5 yes, 6 no, 1 abstain.
The vote for Kenneth Peterson as vice chairman has failed. We will now proceed to the vote of Candy Emerson for vice chairman.
Your vote is 6 yes, 5 no, 1 abstain.
The vote for Candace Emerson as vice chairman has failed. We will now need to reopen the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Let me address one more thing too.
Mr. Golden?
Just so you all are aware on this, Tennessee law requires you to elect a board chair. Tennessee law does not require a vice chair. There's wisdom in having a vice chair, obviously, in case a chair doesn't, in case a chair is missing from a particular meeting. Mr. Mesra has called for nominations to be open. There may come a point, if this stays at an impasse, that you may just decide not to go any further with the vice chair. But just to make you aware of that.
Okay. Susan, sorry, Mrs. Curley, if you please. There you go.
I nominate Dr. Beth Burgos.
Thank you, Ms. Curley. Mr. Galbraith, just a second. I'm sorry, go ahead now.
I just want to ask a quick question. So in the event that we do not have a vice chair, and the chair is absent, what's the procedure? Is the superintendent presiding, or does the chair select someone? How does that work?
Well, you've effectively given yourself a dilemma at that point where you're going to have to vote on a chair for that meeting where there is no chair sitting, if you don't have a vice chair. Tennessee law requires a chair.
Okay.
So if you show up to a meeting and the chair has a flat tire, you either wait for the chair to come, or if the chair can't come, you're going to have to make that the first agenda item to vote for a chair for that meeting.
Are there any other nominations from the floor? All right, seeing none, we will vote on the election of Ms. Burgos as vice chairman.
Your vote is 7 yes, 4 no, 1 abstain.
Congratulations, Ms. Burgos. You are the vice chair. At this point, we have no further business. We will call this. Oh, before we call this to adjournment, if it is okay with the board, I would like to stick with tradition and move to the work session upstairs in the Carolyn Campbell room, unless there are any objections. Yes, hold on a second.
Give them a time. Tell them we're going to start at what time.
Just, Mr. Hollett,
Hold on, everybody.
hold on.
I'm one of the people I would like to object. We already have a lot of people down here. It's being live streamed upstairs, which is a bigger room than what we have is the conference room down here. So I would like to ask that we keep it down here, since we already have a lot of folks who got here, took time out of their day to come and be a part of our work session. So I would like to ask that we keep it here, please.
Thank you, Mr. Hollett. I appreciate your concern for the crowds, and I agree with you that there are a great many people here who have come to hear about a lot of topics that are going to be discussed in the work session tonight. However, I would like to draw the attention to everybody to our work session agenda. The location was named as the Carolyn Campbell Conference Room, and in order to avoid any kind of confusion for those that are presently upstairs, and we're assuming that the Carolyn Campbell Room would be the place for the work session, I would recommend that we move up there, but we could have an aye vote.
It's completely up to you.
This is your first
It's up to you.
as a chair, PJ.
I would like to have just a verbal vote, if you don't mind. Or, yes?
You need to adjourn this meeting and then talk about that, because there's not on the agenda for a vote.
That's a good point. It's not on the agenda. So before we have a verbal vote, we call this meeting an adjournment. Okay, now having adjourned the meeting, special. Now, if all those in favor of moving the work session upstairs, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.
Oh, wait, sorry.
That's right. Those opposed, nay?
Nay.
Okay, it appears the ayes have it.
We do it. I'd like to request a hand vote so that everyone
Yes,
knows.
absolutely. Okay, those in favor of moving the work session upstairs, please signify by raising your hand. All right. Well, the ayes have it. We will be moving the work session upstairs in tradition. Thank you.